Hi, and welcome to the 5th episode of Secrets in Sparking Zero. This is like the 3rd time I've brought this up in my Secrets in Sparking Zero series, but I have to mention it again. Because with the release of the Daima DLC, the devs made one simple change that makes Sparking Zero's energy sensing mechanic 100% lore accurate. You know how when you lose focus on your enemy, their energy starts to surround them, helping you pinpoint their location so you can regain lock-on? As cool as that detail was, the devs seem to forget that not every character in the game emits energy. For example, characters who possess God Ki are supposed to be undetectable to those who don't have it, and that makes perfect sense. But what doesn't make sense is that despite being unable to sense God Ki, those same characters could still see a visible surge of godly aura around the users. That completely undermines the concept of God Ki being undetectable to non-users because it still allowed them, albeit with a bit more effort, to locate God Ki users just like they would anyone else. Same with the androids. We have fully robotic absorption models, fully robotic non-absorption types, half-human, half-robot hybrids, and even the air models. They all emit a surging aura of energy when, obviously, they shouldn't. Oh, and speaking of air models, this video has been brought to you by the Red Magic 10 Air. Similar to the Red Magic 10 Pro, the 10 Air model features an impressive 93.7% screen-to-body ratio, with the front camera cleverly concealed beneath the display. However, the Air model is 10% lighter, boasts a much sleeker design, and manages to maintain high performance and quality with little to no sacrifices. I know that Red Magic phones are primarily built for gaming, but their cameras never fail to impress me. Oh yeah, our virtual assistant Mora is back too. This phone will run every single performance-heavy mobile game buttery smooth, especially with Game Space, where you can choose between options that enhance performance, save battery, or just play around with dozens of unique customizable settings and plugins. If you like playing FPS shooters, I recommend using the shoulder triggers, which alleviate much of that mobile gaming clunk. The specs on this phone are so overkill that playing regular mobile games doesn't really do it justice. So why don't we try something like, yep, you can play big games like Kakarot on it. That's how good the specs are. The 6000 mAh battery combined with the upgraded Eyesight cooling system ensures a long overheat-free gaming experience. You can basically run any Dragon Ball game. Even Sparking Zero will be playable sooner or later. An extremely good all-rounder phone at a quite an affordable price. So why not grab one for yourself today? The Red Magic 10 Air is available worldwide in various editions and colors. Be sure to check out the Red Magic 10 Air by using my link in the description or the pinned comment. This is what used to happen whenever you lost lock-on while playing against an android character. See that energy surging around them? It obviously shouldn't be there, right? But if we try the same thing now...
Where'd you go?
The energy is no longer visible. Same goes for God Ki users. I don't think this change was made for any balancing reasons. I think it was purely for the sake of lore accuracy. Hit is another character who benefited from this change. I actually expressed my confusion in a previous video when I talked about him. I mentioned that Hit can sense God Ki users since he doesn't possess God Ki himself. But oddly enough, God Ki users couldn't sense him either. Not because he had some unique form of energy, no. It's simply because he's just that good at concealing it. In episode 71 of Dragon Ball Super, Goku, who, as we all know, is a master at sensing Ki, couldn't sense Hit at all. For reference, in this same episode, Goku was able to sense Gohan and Goten while they were hiding their energy. And what's more, and this is actually pretty crazy, this man was able to sense the exact number of roaches hiding beneath his fridge. He even sensed a random mailman right as he was about to knock on his door. This shows just how skilled Goku is at sensing energy. He can pick up even the faintest presence. And yet, he still couldn't sense Hit. It's implied that you can't sense Hit unless he allows it, which I'm assuming is what they were referencing here in Sparking Zero. Hit was already undetectable to everyone in the game. Even the androids couldn't locate him. However, his aura still remained visible, so even if you lost focus, you could still track him down. But with the latest update, Hit now joins God Ki users and androids as one of the very few characters whose aura is completely invisible. Thank you to everyone who pointed this out in the comments.
Time to make the donuts.
I don't know if it's a jab at Gohan's eyesight or just genuine confusion, which would be justified in this situation, but Gohan has a funny line if you pair him up against SS3 Daima Vegeta.
What happened? I swear, you kids weren't even half this strong yesterday.
これが俺の新しい力だ。
I was randomly scrolling through the Sparking Zero subreddit, you know, just watching some replays people were posting, when a certain match featuring Krillin caught my attention. A Krillin player was up against UI Goku and fired off his scattering bullet technique. Everything looked pretty normal until the scattering bullet connected, and Krillin did this little gesture where he stomps the ground like he's annoyed or frustrated. Now, I'd never seen that gesture before, but then again, I haven't played all that much as Krillin in SZ. I quickly booted up Tenkaichi 4, selected Krillin, and tried to recreate what just happened. Thought so. He does a fist pump and not a frustrated stomp to the ground. So why am I getting a completely different... Oh... I think I get it. What if Krillin's gesture depends on whether or not the scattering bullet hits the opponent? To see if the theory holds up, I decided to run a few tests. As we've already seen, if the scattering bullet successfully connects, Krillin does a little fist pump. But if it misses the target... How's this? Yep, the theory seems to hold up. Most of the time, when the attack misses, Krillin stomps the ground in frustration. I say most of the time because occasionally, even when it hits, Krillin will still do the stomp animation. I think it's most likely due to a bug or the feature just not being implemented properly. Still, the theory holds true in about 90% of the cases. I'm really curious if this is something they were planning on implementing with some of the other characters. Aside from Krillin, Gohan is the only one I can think of who has something similar. Granted, he will always flip the bird no matter if his Kamehameha misses or not. Majin is one of the 8 new characters that got introduced with the new Daima DLC. Design-wise, he's obviously inspired by Kid Buu, with a bit of Cyberman thrown in, and maybe a smidge of Hit as well? That head-shaped design is certainly... something. But the core inspiration is definitely Kid Buu, with Majin feeling more like a blend of Fat Buu and Kid Buu. Now, when it came to designing Majin combos, the devs actually did something neat. While testing something completely unrelated, I noticed a pattern between Ku's and Kid Buu's combos. He uses the exact same move as Kid Buu in his first 2 rush chain combos, those signature flying kicks, and they even execute them in nearly the same way. I actually thought that was a neat touch. Ku is heavily inspired by Kid Buu, so it makes perfect sense that their fighting styles would overlap, right? Curious, I decided to take a closer look at their combos. And wouldn't you know it, they share the exact same combo strings. Even their Russian attacks is the same move. I think it's a clever little homage to Kid Buu, though I can also see if some of you chalk this up to simple laziness. However, in defense of the devs, while the combos are technically the same, the moves themselves have different animations, even if they're the same type of move. For example, Ku's flying kicks are slightly faster than Kid Buu's. The Ki Cannon combo is completely different. Same with the heavy finish gut punch. If the devs were truly being lazy, I don't think they would have bothered much with the animations. But hey, maybe I'm just giving them too much credit. Do let me know how you guys feel. The Tenkaichi games have a mechanic that allows you to launch a barrage of ki blasts by pressing jump and then the ki button. This mechanic remained largely unchanged throughout the first 3 games, until we got to Sparking Zero. The jumping mechanic has been reworked in a way that it no longer allows you to perform a ki barrage while you're already in the air. In doing so, the devs inadvertently made a few gameplay systems completely unusable. Take ki poking for example. This technique used the jumping/ascending mechanic to cancel ki blasts and pin opponents in place with a constant stream of ki blasts. Same with combo canceling, which, as the name implies, allowed players to extend their combos by jumping mid-string to keep opponents in place while dealing decent damage. Whether removing this feature was a good or bad decision, I'll let you guys decide. Personally, I do like that we can control the jump height now. The longer you hold the button, the higher your character goes. Still, I wouldn't mind having some of the older cancels return. Then again, maybe it's for the best. The online meta might have become even more toxic and sweaty with those mechanics still in place. That said, even though you can't fire ki barrages mid-air anymore, the core of the jumping mechanic is still intact. In fact, one of the coolest details tied to this system isn't just preserved, it's actually been expanded upon in Sparking Zero. So, the type and the amount of ki blasts you'll throw varies from character character to character. Generally, most characters will throw around 3 to 5 ki blasts. Saiyan characters in particular get a boost to their jump barrage when they transform into Super Saiyan. Instead of firing just 3 to 4 ki blasts, they now shoot 5 to 7, and in some rare cases, even up to 8. You essentially start firing more and more with each new transformation. And then we have Vegeta. Vegeta was always known for being a ki blast spammer, especially when he feels threatened or desperate. It looks like the devs haven't forgotten about Vegeta's spamming tendencies when designing this feature. Like I said, most characters fire around 3 to 5 ki blasts, but Vegeta, not only does he shoot 10 of them, he does that while remaining in his base form. It makes sense though, he's the one who coined the famous Vegeta's technique. Unfortunately, the number of ki blasts fired doesn't scale with each transformation, unlike with many other characters. The maximum seems to be capped at 10, and fittingly, it's Vegeta who can hit that number, in base form no less. For comparison, Goku and Gohan need to be in blue and beast forms just to fire off 8.
Look what they need to mimic a fraction of our power.
However, Vegeta's not the only one. We also have another candidate who fires 10 ki blasts while jumping.
Hello, monkeys!
Similar to Vegeta, third form Frieza is also known for being a heavy spammer of his Death Beam ki blasts, most notably in his fight against Piccolo on Namek. Frieza will also fire 10 of them, or should I say, he used to fire 10 of them. Unlike Tenkaichi 3, he fires 9 in Sparking Zero, but there's a unique quirk to him. In Sparking Zero, some characters can fire 8 ki blasts with a single button press, while others only fire 4. But if you press the ki button a second time, those same characters will fire 8 instead of 4. You might try pressing it a third time to push that number even higher, but it won't work. The game caps it at 2 inputs, unless you're Frieza. Frieza fires 3 ki blasts with 1 input, 6 with 2, and a full 9 with 3. I guess, unlike in Tenkaichi 3, Vegeta remains unrivaled in Sparking Zero. Of course, how could I forget the 2 Gammas? While they technically don't fire ki blasts, the Gamma duo use their energy pistols, and they're able to fire off 10 shots with a single press of a button. In a way, that's even more impressive than Vegeta, who has to press the ki button twice to reach the same number. So now we've got Vegeta, Gamma 1, and Gamma 2. Is there anyone else who can challenge the throne?
Here comes a mighty warrior!
At first glance, Mini Vegeta seems like the perfect candidate, considering he's, well, Vegeta. I thought so too, but unfortunately, the little guy only fires off 8 blasts. Base, Super Saiyan 1, 2, or even 3, Mini Vegeta just won't go above 8. This got me wondering how they'll handle adult SSJ3 Vegeta. I think they'll go back to 10 ki blasts, but I could be wrong.
Here comes a mighty warrior!
I was a bit disappointed by the amount of ki blast Trunks throws. You'd think after spending a whole time in the time chamber, future Trunks would adapt some of Vegeta's fighting quirks, especially since how much he admires his father, but he only throws 3 in base form. I don't know why, but I was kinda hoping he would throw more, being Vegeta's son and all. While Trunks didn't inherit Vegeta's spamming tendencies, there's one character who did. Enter Cabba. Just as I was about to wrap this section up, I tried to see if I had missed any other character known for spamming ki blasts, and that's when I remembered Cabba. Now, Cabba wasn't exactly known for spamming ki blasts, or at least, I don't think he was. Still, he proclaimed Vegeta as his master, and clearly strives to be like him, at least in terms of strength, so I guess it's no wonder base Cabba will shoot 6. Yeah, I don't know why I thought he would shoot 10.
Master, today I fight with the pride of a true Saiyan!
Alright, that's a bit better, but still not 10.
I'm still in this! I'll hit you with everything I've got!
The funniest part is that, just like Vegeta, he doesn't fire 10 blasts with a single press of the ki button. Instead, he shoots 5 with the first press, and another 5 with the second. Good job, Cabba. One of the coolest yet often overlooked additions to Sparking Zero is the unique dialogue that plays when switching between specific characters. I'll be honest, I completely forgot this was even a thing until I played the Broly Raid Boss mode. In that mode, you're limited to 15 DP to assemble a team to face off against Broly. And since characters from the Broly movie give you bonus points when used, I went with a team of Goku, Vegeta, and Broly. Everything was going fine. Well, as fine as a fight against the legendary difficulty Broly can go. But then I decided to do a switch out to Broly.
Kakarot, get away!
Kakarot. Interesting. So not only does Broly have unique dialogue with Goku, but he also refers to him as Kakarot, a possible reference to the Broly movie? I mean, Goku did tell Broly he could call him that. What's strange though is that we've never actually heard DBS Broly refer to Goku as Kakarot. The last time we saw Broly in animated form was in Super Hero, and he didn't really have much dialogue there. And if we take a look at the manga, Broly refers to Goku as Goku. A bit weird, but maybe it's just a fun nod to the Broly movie. What's even weirder is Z Broly. His switch out interactions are so out of character that I had to pause the game just to process what I'd heard. This is what happens when we switch from Goku to Broly.
Kakarot, I will be the one to kill you.
He's not exactly friendly. He does express intent to kill, but the way it's delivered feels so off that it sounds more like something Vegeta would say rather than Broly. And if you thought that was weird, get a load of his interaction with Vegeta.
Vegeta, move!
Huh, do I hear genuine concern in his voice? Now, if that was DBS Broly, then sure, that would make total sense. Matter of fact, this is what DBS Broly says when switching with Vegeta.
Vegeta, get back!
Makes sense, right? But Z Broly? I don't know, maybe we have some alternate timeline Z Broly over here. Dragon Ball Super manga content is something that's rarely seen in the games. Manga-exclusive characters like Moro, Gas, Granola, Mirrors, and of course, Ultra Ego Vegeta and Black Frieza haven't made a single appearance in any title so far. The closest we've come to manga-exclusive content was in Super Dragon Ball Heroes, which did one of the coolest things ever by adapting Goku Sakai technique. Surprisingly, Sparking Zero has turned out to be one of the most ambitious games when it comes to incorporating manga-only material. While we obviously don't have any manga characters or transformations, the game did push the limit by a tiny bit by including some manga-exclusive techniques and references. For example, we got Goku Black's Black Bind, a move he used against Trunks in the manga. And while researching for this video, I came across an interesting Reddit thread where someone suggested that Goku may have learned his Godbind technique by mimicking what Zamasu did. While that theory hasn't been officially confirmed, it honestly doesn't sound too far-fetched. We also have Vegeta's Gamma Burst Flash, a technique that's actually a bit frowned upon in the online community. The move only costs 2 key bars, which makes it pretty spammable. So much so that some players don't even bother engaging in hand-to-hand combat and instead relying on spamming Gamma Burst Flash to secure the win. We also have Trunks using the Solar Flare, and perhaps the most obvious reference, one that somehow went over my head for the longest time, UI Goku's Perception Pose. An almost perfect recreation of the pose he struck before facing off against Moro. Judging by everything we've seen so far, it would appear that the devs were well aware of the DBS manga. Well, if they were aware of it, why couldn't they just give us more of it? It's not that they don't want to give us more manga exclusive stuff. The problem is that they can't. From a legal standpoint, that is. There's this company called Shueisha, and Shueisha is the ultimate rights holder when it comes to the Dragon Ball manga. For some reason, Shueisha doesn't seem willing to share the rights to the Dragon Ball Super manga with Toei, which is likely why the anime hasn't returned, or even with Bandai, which is probably why we haven't seen characters like Ultra Ego Vegeta, Moro, or Black Frieza in any of the games. The battle over rights has only gotten more complicated in recent years, especially after Mr. Toriyama's passing. I'm not exactly sure if Bandai had to go out of their way to get permission to include manga content in Sparking Zero, or any other game featuring super manga material for that matter. The way I see it, we probably won't be getting full-on manga exclusive characters in games anytime soon. But the fact that we got exclusive techniques in Sparking Zero is definitely a good thing. I don't know if it's a sign of things to come, but it's something. Vice Shout is a technique Super Boo unintentionally discovered after realizing he would be trapped in the hyperbolic time chamber forever. In response, he let out a high-pitched scream that ripped through dimensions themselves. Frankly, I think he was more upset about never eating chocolate again than actually being trapped, but that's besides the point. In Sparking Zero, it works as a utility that freezes your opponent in place for a brief moment, giving you just enough time to land a free super or ultimate on them. The effect of the move isn't all that notable, since there are already quite a few paralyzing utilities in the game. What makes it unique is Gotenks himself. His mouth stretches to cartoonish proportions, referencing the moment he used the same move in the anime. I like when games mess around with character models like this. Strangely, they didn't do the same thing with Super Boo, who, like Gotenks, also had an exaggerated expression in the series. Maybe it was one of those things the devs wanted to include but couldn't finish in time. There's a theory that's been going around for a while now that the devs were rushed to get the game out to coincide with the release of Dragon Ball Daima. It's never been officially confirmed, but it does sound plausible. Either the devs abandoned the idea of giving Boo a unique Vice Shout animation to focus on more important things, or they simply never planned to include it in the first place. Either way, I'm glad they at least gave it to Gotenks. That's gonna be it for this one. Took me a bit longer to get everything ready, but I hope it was worth the wait. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.